On February 21, 1942, just 76 days after the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Bernard Julius Otto Kuehn stood before a military tribunal in Honolulu. The verdict was swift: guilty of espionage. His punishment, death by musketry. But before the sentence could be carried out, a bigger question lingered. Who exactly was Bernard Julius Otto Kuehn, and how did a German national end up at the heart of one of the most shocking intelligence cases in American history? The story begins years earlier. In 1935, Kuehn arrived in Hawaii with his wife and daughter. On paper, he had no real job, no visible source of income. Yet he lived in comfort, 2 homes, bank accounts flush with cash, and a lifestyle that allowed him to entertain high-ranking U.S. military officers. Kuehn was charming, cultured, and well-connected. But beneath the smooth exterior there was something darker. He was a committed member of Germany's Nazi Party, and in the tense years leading up to World War II, that allegiance would lead him down a dangerous path. By 1939, the FBI had already taken notice. He had suspicious ties to both German and Japanese nationals in Hawaii. He seemed unusually curious about U.S. naval operations. But despite their suspicions, neither the FBI nor Army intelligence could find proof he was spying. Kuehn's weapon wasn't a gun or a bomb, it was information. And he developed a method to pass it along without a word being spoken. A linen sheet hanging on a clothesline, a lantern glowing in a dormer window between 9 and 10 p.m., the beam of car headlights cutting through the night, a small sailboat on the water marked with a single star. To anyone else, these were harmless, everyday sights. But to the trained eyes of Japanese submarines offshore, these were signals, messages. Each variation, each combination, meant something specific. A light in the window could mean U.S. aircraft carriers had sailed. A sheet on the line in the morning could mean the battle force had left the harbor. In total, there were 8 coded signals, enough to quietly track the movements of the entire U.S. Pacific Fleet. In November 1941, Kuehn took a bold step. He approached the Japanese consulate in Hawaii and offered to sell intelligence on U.S. warships. Then, on December 2, just 5 days before the attack on Pearl Harbor, he provided the consulate with a detailed written report. It contained accurate, up-to-the-hour information about the U.S. fleet's location. Along with it, he included his secret code system, so that Japanese forces could read his signals from the shore. The timing could not have been more critical. When the sun rose over Oahu on that Sunday morning, no one could imagine the horror that awaited. At 7:55 a.m., Japanese aircraft roared out of the clouds, unleashing a wave of destruction on Pearl Harbor. Battleships burned, aircraft were shattered, and more than 400 Americans lost their lives. As the attack unfolded, FBI Special Agent in charge Robert Shivers acted fast, his priority securing all possible points of enemy contact. One of his first orders was to have the Japanese consulate in Honolulu placed under guard. What they found inside was damning. Consulate officials were frantically trying to burn stacks of documents. Once recovered and decoded, those papers revealed detailed instructions for signals indicating U.S. fleet movements. The description matched Kuehn's system exactly. The trail was now clear. Kuehn had the dormer window, the sailboat with the star, the unexplained wealth, and the motive. He was arrested the very next day. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Kuehn confessed to giving the information to the Japanese, but insisted he had never actually sent the signals. His protest didn't matter. In the eyes of the tribunal, the damage was done. The judgment was harsh: execution by firing squad. In military terms, death by musketry. But in the final moments his life was spared. His sentence was commuted to 50 years of hard labor, and after serving time, Kuehn and his family were deported back to Germany. Bernard Julius Otto Kuehn's story remains one of the most striking examples of espionage on American soil during World War II. His system was simple enough to hide in plain sight, yet powerful enough to play a role in one of the deadliest days in U.S. history. In the end, he didn't die before a firing squad, but the image of sheets on a clothesline, a light in a window, and a sailboat with a single star remains a haunting reminder that sometimes the deadliest weapons are not bullets or bombs but secrets.